I'd love to tell the story about how Haverkamp Properties started. I grew up in a small town in northwest Iowa, and it was a middle-class family. In fact, my dad immigrated from Holland. He couldn't even speak English when he arrived in America. So I grew up like a lot of people did. So in 1985, I moved to Ames, Iowa as a college freshman. To me, it was a big city, and I grew up in a town of 3,000, and to move to a university of 25,000 was a really big deal to me. I graduated in 1989 with a degree in computer science. For a lot of people, college will be an easy event for them, but for me, I just feel pretty lucky that I graduated from Iowa State with a degree, a wife, and a job. And so I went to work for Iowa State University as a systems analyst. And shortly thereafter, Tori and I started looking for a house, and we soon realized that there was very few that we could afford. And we ended up buying a little fixer-upper 2-bedroom house for $42,000. It was a rental house, and it was rented to veterinary students for many years. And so we spent all that next summer fixing up the house and making it livable. And so then that next year came to our first rental property. And so looking out the window of our house, I saw a guy next door pounding a sign in the yard. I walked across the street and I asked him how much he wanted for the house. And he told me $75,000. And so I thanked him. And then I went over and I talked to the tenants in their house. And it was one of these turn-of-the-century houses that they really stuffed full of college students. I think there was probably 6 of them that lived there at the time. And they said, we pay $150 each a month. And so I was good at the analytical part, and so I worked up the house, and I thought, oh, somebody could make some money on this house. And so I called the bank and I said, hey, what does it take to buy a house for $75,000? And they said, well, if you can put 20% down or $15,000, then we'll give you a loan for the other 60, and we'll let you go ahead and buy the house. So I didn't have $15,000, so I called my parents and I said, hey, if you let me borrow $8,000, I think Tori and I can scrape up the rest. And they agreed to it, loaned me the money. I got the mortgage on the house and I went ahead and bought it. I had pretty limited skills on how to improve the house, but I did the best I could. I think the tenants liked it. I was able to eventually raise the rents on the house to about a couple $100 per student per month. And before I knew it, I was making $300 to $400 a month on the house. And this really was an epiphany for me, because my take-home pay at the time was probably under a couple $1,000s a month. And I said to myself, if I could only buy 5 or 6 of these houses, I could replace my total income and I could become a real estate investor. And to me, that was the best thing that I could think about. And so I started to go after it, and I became a very aggressive buyer and eventually a builder of real estate in Ames. And at the same time, I was building another business. I went in with a partner and we created a business based on auto-related businesses, convenience stores, and AMCO transmissions. And through a whole circumstances of events, we were losing money on those businesses. And my partner said to me at the time that I had a choice to make. And either I needed to sell my real estate so I could pay my bills, or I could go bankrupt. I didn't want to sell my real estate. I'd spent my life building it, but I decided that that was the direction that we should go. And so in 2005 through 2007, I sold the vast majority of my real estate portfolio in Ames. And I found myself at the end of 2007 in a pretty unique spot. And so I had a pretty good balance sheet. I had good real estate experience. And then the Great Recession of 2008 hit. And so very interesting in the Des Moines market, we saw many real estate companies, and I had a couple of neighbors that went bankrupt. Soon there was literally just property after property in Des Moines of real estate owned by the banks that they were wanting to sell. They were typically condoed projects, and I would go ahead and I would buy a condominium project from a bank and I would build it out as an apartment community. We did that from 2009 through 2015, eventually building out about 1,000 units in the Des Moines market. We just really felt so fortunate to be in the position to be able to do that during just a very difficult time in our market. Through the last 10 years, we've been able to build a couple thousand units in the Des Moines market. And today we probably have 10,000 tenants that call a Haverkamp Properties community their home. And we are super proud really to be able to offer high quality attractional housing to that number of people.